this really cool video idea coming up, basically talking about, you've seen this insurgence of gambling promotions in fitness influencers, right? You have like Sush, you have Toji, there's a couple other dudes doing it right now. Alex Eubank took a sponsorship from a gambling company. And what they show is these guys winning a lot, right? So like these guys will live stream, they'll post all sorts of content about how much they're winning on social media. There was just a video of Toji doing a live stream where he won 64 grand with a 2 grand total. And just to understand that is impossible. Like the largest number theory, it's just impossible, right? You can do that, but the chances are almost 1 million to 1. And how is it that Toji's constantly winning? My theory is that essentially what's happening is these companies are sponsoring fitness influencers. They're leveraging the bets to make them win, and then they live stream that. So they win more and more and more. And then it looks like, oh my God, I could win tons of money gambling. And then it gets their audience to start gambling. That's my personal theory. I don't know if that's actually what's happening, but the odds are absolutely, it would be nearly impossible for someone to win more than 3 times in a row. Like virtually, it would be impossible. And so for someone to, like Toji just did this live stream, I'm going to cover it in a video, where he won, it was like 7 times in a row. And like that, you would literally have to be God. Like it is statistically impossible for having that happen. And it's just a absolute sham. Or he's a paid actor. That's what I mean. He's for sure a paid actor. Like the Toji camp is like anyone who's kind of associated, they're paid to live stream gambling, and then the gambling sites that they're sponsored by will leverage their bets differently so that they win more commonly on their lives. That creates big issues. Let's not do that. We give Coach Kolton money and you gamble for us. Terrible idea. Not only would I be more broke for it, but all of you would be more broke, and then we'd all be broke together.
The FBI raided the home of Polymarket CEO Shane Kolton and
Oh, by the way, I should talk about what video we're watching. This video is called How the Gambling Epidemic is Destroying Society, and I think it's pretty relevant to the video that I'm going to be doing. Maybe it's a pre-recorded video and they send it to Toji and influencers. That's possible too, and then they just react live.
Confiscated his phone, although he wasn't actually arrested. So who got the spooks so spooked? Polymarket is a relatively new company that offers people a different way to gamble. Users can buy shares on the outcomes of real-world events, with the odds depending on what people are willing to pay for either result. It's in practice a completely deregulated system, using USDT. And Polymarket's about page is keen to tell you that there is no house, and they don't actually take a cut of the wagers or have any stake in the outcome. They've also said that the raid was nothing more than political punishment from the outgoing administration. But the whole site does seem to exist in a legal grey area. Polymarket's detractors have accused it of being just another shady crypto experiment designed to take people's money, while the company itself and their supporters see it as a less exploitative improvement on gambling.
Another really sketchy thing, yeah, Valve is the exact point I was talking about. Valve in crypto gambling, because there's no age requirement. You can be fucking 12 years old, you can be 13 years old and just gamble your shit away. And a lot of these online gambling websites, especially the ones that Toji is promoting, this is something we're going to talk about, don't require age verification. So you can literally just walk up in there as a kid and start gambling all your shit away and not even know it. You know, like you don't know better. Do a gambling stream. The real jackpot will be the friends we make along the way. Oh boy. Possible. I would put 1,000 down. No, I'm not going to do that. Fuck that. That's everything. That goes against every moral I ever have.
Gambling and the future.
Oh, we have a Reddit hater here, guys. They're trying to raid our live. The Ginger could not handle the people on Reddit agree with him, and now is doubling down by being shirtless with hoop chains. LMA, bruh. Yeah, well, I don't know what you're saying. This is a joke. These aren't real chains. I hope you're aware. Like, holy Christ, man. One thing I've learned this past week is Reddit is absolutely brain dead. Like I said, I had those really big YouTubers coming out and talking to me, which again, I think it's the wildest thing they watch this channel. So fucking crazy. Like some guys I've watched since I was like 18 years old reach out to me and they're like, hey dude, just keep producing content. Like ignore all this shit. Like absolutely ignore it. Statistically speaking, they're right. Like everyone who's engaging with my content loves it. I just need to be open to not seeing other people being idiots.
Of an industry that's always going to exist. But before we can ask these questions and dive deeper into Polymarket, we need to take a step back and consider the context of all of this happening in. These days, gambling is...
That's exactly what they said. So I don't know if you guys know Joel. He does like food eating challenges. He's got like some million some subscribers. He reached out to me and said that like exactly that. Like more haters, more fame. He's like, when I started out, I had such a little content base, like a little subscriber base. So every comment was much more visible. But as you get a channel that has, you know, hundreds of thousands of views per video and you have thousands and thousands of comments, those comments really begin to drown out in the noise, and the more positive ones become much more relevant. And I think that's kind of what I've witnessed as well, is that the comments section might be a few hundred big, and so it's much more easy for me to like depict some of the things that are happening as negative, but in reality the grand majority of the comments are ultimately positive. Again, I've said this a lot, but the average like ratio on my video is 96%, so like there's nothing wrong there. And I've never lost subscribers on a single video. I've only gained them. So it's like, cool, we're winning. You're right, Joel. Joel is my spirit animal. He's like the fucking shit, dude. He's the absolute shit. He's a really cool dude.
Everywhere, and it's had a massive effect on culture, most notably in the world of sports. Until recently though, there were lots of barriers for entry to betting on sports. To do it legally, you generally needed to go into an actual brick and mortar store. There are ID checks and other barriers to entry, so compared to today, it did take a lot more time to start wagering. Gambling was present on TV as well, but there were still restrictions that kept gambling participation rates pretty steady over time. But today, it's a completely different story, and now people are gambling on every single thing in society. From which movies hit in the box office, to which presidents come into power, all the way to which wars are won. In 2018, the US Supreme Court reversed a federal ban on sports betting, leaving it up to the states to decide, and most have chosen to legalize it, which also coincided with the rise of mobile gambling apps. And since
So they've legalized sports betting, and I've seen this on YouTube all of the time. The constant advertisements for sports gambling. I don't even watch sports. I don't watch a single video for sports, but I get gambling advertisements for sports betting, like genuinely all the time. Has anyone noticed how bad leg day views are for Sam Sulek? It's hilariously low. That's actually a really interesting social experiment, like a very abnormal, interesting social experiment. Give me a chain to gamble. Here's a total of maybe what they would give you $5 for. You know, the sad thing is people actually, I posted that picture on Instagram and genuinely people thought this was real. I was like, dude, was it not inherently a joke? It's crazy.
2018, there's also been a massive rise in the amount of people with gambling addiction problems. Both surveys and charities running gambling addiction hotlines have confirmed it. A research paper by Stephen Shapiro from the University of South Carolina showed that sports and betting have an almost symbiotic relationship. A rise in popularity of one leads to more attention for the other and vice versa. Over time, the two industries have become completely enmeshed. We've seen similar results in the UK, where regulation has been lax for years. Now nearly every football team in the UK has a betting company logo on their jersey. Gambling ads now almost run non-stop during sports programming in the US. American football and its frequent pauses have even let them sneak in between individual plays. And this video isn't to say that gambling as a whole is a terrible thing.
That's what I think is really messed up. You see this in like esports, you see this in football, baseball, you see this in the UFC. They will like sponsor these brands and then basically have commercials for them. And it's obvious that the people watching these things are not all adults. They're mostly children. So you're just, and they glamorize it so much. Like the sports betting ads that I've seen are very clearly glamorizing it. Like you want to win big, and then it has Post Malone putting like 100K bet down and then winning like 300K or something. And it's like, well, yeah, everyone's going to want to win 300K, but that bet doesn't happen. Like that's so crazy.
But it's the positive association with gambling that could be slightly concerning. And we're not just talking about sports. We're talking about kid gamblers and the promotion of gambling on anything and everything for teens. In a 2014 report, the UK Gambling Commission noted a massive rise in problems with gambling among 11 to 17-year-olds. The amount of kids who would qualify as having problems with gambling more than doubled from 0.7% to 1.5%. And that's only in the space of a single year. These are children who have been having problems with hard gambling, but a different kind of softer gambling has been promoted to children for years through predatory practices that have become common in video games. As games have evolved, companies realized they could
Here we go, the CSGO shit. This is what it is.
make far more money through a so-called freemium model. The basic gameplay is usually free, with added content, cosmetics, or even in-game advantages costing extra. The real money comes in from game purchases and microtransactions. Over time, they found out that the best way to make the most money with the system—
Look, I'm a big video game guy. I love video games. I'm super into PoE2 right now. I can't stand, like, look, if we're thinking like Halo 3, like Prime era, Halo 3, Modern Warfare 2, RuneScape, like the OGs of the OG, Oblivion, even Skyrim can be thrown in there. Now games are chronically pay to win and or just have all sorts of microtransactions, like infested, riddled into the game. And I remember when you used to just get a game and it was a game and you spent $60 and you got the game, and that is all you needed. That there was no other purchases. Maybe there was like a, Skyrim had like the horse armor thing, but that was, like that's it. Or it comes with a fulfilled DLC that's virtually an entire game in and of itself. It would literally be an entire game. You pay $60, that's it. Now it's just all slop. It's just pay there, pay here, $5 here, $10 there, $11 here, season pass there. It's just crazy, man. Halo 3 was peak, yeah. It was like the golden era of video games. Golden fucking era. GTA makes about $1 billion a year online. That's so nuts, man. It's the same people that, I don't even know what to say about it. It's just really sad. It's like, it's an unfortunate reality, but at the same time, like, what else would they be spending their money on? Clothes, shoes, shit that doesn't matter anyways. I mean, it is what it is. I guess capitalism works best when it can find its niche of people that will endlessly see for the things that they're buying. Riot Games started the trend. Yeah, DLC was hyped back in the day. It would get everyone. Yeah, it would get everyone. That was the shit, man. That was when it was legit. Like, I remember when whenever Halo 3 would drop new multiplayer maps. I don't know if you guys remember this, but seriously, that was the fucking, like, whenever there was new multiplayer maps, it was like everybody got on. I remember everybody at school would just get on and fucking start playing and would not stop. Like, for the whole week, that was all the talk was. And it was free. Most of the time, those were free add-ons. I think there was like 3 free add-ons for maps. Oh, man, it was the prime. And now it's, each add-on is like $30, $40. It's like a whole new game, basically.
Was to create an in-game casino system. They started as a way for players with less time on their hands to access items they could otherwise grind for. However, this wasn't enough for some companies, so they turned to the one business proficient at ensuring its customers' return: casinos. And things started to spiral out of control when companies saw how much players spent on loot boxes. Games like Call of Duty would start introducing loot boxes to reward players with cosmetic items. Nothing that would ever enhance the gameplay or even give you any money back. Players loved changing the
Non-IFBB, bro. You called it.
Appearance of their main character to suit themselves better, and add their own identity to the character. Finding new items became a fun little gimmick that came with leveling up. Loot boxes triggered feelings similar to what one might experience while gambling. The anticipation that comes with the mystery of what's in the box. The excitement that followed finding an item that you've been looking for a while. Or the disappointment that settles in when you realize you weren't so lucky this time around. Loot boxes used to be discoverable in-game, or granted to you for free upon login. These days, multiple games require spending real money to get them, and we're talking about major gaming companies where you've already paid to access the game itself.
I could be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure, at least I maybe recall that Europe banned loot boxes in games, or like any loot box type mechanism. I could be wrong on that, but from what I recall, they banned the loot boxes. I know that they also told game launchers like Steam that if anyone buys the game on your platform, they owe the rights to that game, compared to what we do, which is basically like Steam owns the game. They're just licensing it to you, which is crazy. So you pay full price for a license of the game and they can take it back anytime. EU banned loot boxes. Yeah, that's so sick, dude. I think like if the United States was intelligent, which they're not, but that's something they should do. Absolutely. Because it just rots games. Absolutely rots games. What's up, Adam Smasher?
And not only does this incentivize especially children to spend ridiculous amounts of money on digital items, but they're also paying far more because of the gambling mechanics, all without their parents' knowledge. You see, loot boxes operate on a system of rarity. They're designed to be as similar to slot machines as possible, and while it makes major gaming publishers tons of money, it also prepares them for a lifetime of gambling. And all of this has fueled a new renaissance for gambling, which brings us straight back to Polymarket. If you're still fumbling around with a bulky, outdated wallet, let me introduce you to Exeter.
All right, I can't stand ads, bros. It's almost 2 minutes long. It's almost 3 minutes long. We're gonna boot it.
Amazing deal. Trust me, once you try Exeter, you'll never want to go back to your old wallet. They've been one of the leading horses in a race to monetize a new way of gambling, a peer-to-peer marketplace for betting on the outcomes of real-world events. The site mixes crypto, gambling, and the stock.
Wasn't Goob promoting this? I'm almost certain that Goob was promoting this on his about the election. I'm almost very positive of it. My nephew makes my bro spend thousands on games he already paid for. Damn. Ain't no kid gonna make me pay for that kind of shit. My bro's got money to burn. Okay, but still you're paying for nothing. Yeah. It's like it's like a subhuman investment. It's crazy.
Markets all into one. In normal gambling, people place wagers on an outcome. In roulette, for example, if you place a bet on black and the ball lands on one of the black numbers, then you win. Polymarket and other sites like it are a little different. Instead, it's like you can buy shares for each outcome. So you could either buy shares that the ball will land on black or that it won't land on black. The amount you can win is decided by what other people are willing to pay. If most users think there's a 55% chance it will land on black, then the share will cost 55 cents and pay out $1 if you're right. This system means that you can either just bet on the outcome or wait for the result by buying shares of one of the outcomes. Or you can buy and sell shares before the outcome even happens, either making a profit or a loss based on how the consensus has changed. It all means that no third party is taking a cut, but other problems come up instead, as we'll find out. If you're going to believe the
I'm sorry, just Flo, we need to support GOG for exactly that reason. They have the policy that once bought the game, it's actually yours. GOG is what exactly? Gamers. I understand it's owned by CDP Red, but what is the Coach Kolton? I just caught Joey Swole trying to swipe cash out of my bag 2 times. So cringe. Shake my head. Let's be honest. He wasn't actually doing that. If he was, send me the proof. I'll talk about it.
founder Shane Copland's social media posts, Polymarket began in a bathroom.
Oh yeah. Is this I get it. Good old games. Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Good old games.
On a laptop sitting on top of a laundry basket, but it wouldn't stay that way for long. Launched in 2020, the site was functional months before the election in November. By offering a way to bet on the outcome, it picked up steam, and by around October, Polymarket had already attracted $4 million from crypto and venture capitalist investors. After the election died down though, the site fell into stagnation for years. Then in 2022, the CFTC banned them from letting American citizens use the platform and fined the site $1.4 million. But strangely, this didn't seem to make much of a difference at all. Whether the ban actually works is up in the air, and it's hard to tell whether.
Can you imagine being this kid who just made this like janky app where you could bet on the election, and in one 3 month, a quarter, he makes more money than most people make in their entire life, just from like a poorly pieced together coded app. Crazy, absolute nuts. Back in the day, I had to beg my mom for quarters. That shit ain't no more. Kids begging their moms for fucking $100 Fortnite packs.
The Polymarket's compliance extended beyond lip service, but it was.
How have I never heard of Good Old Games before? It's a very good platform. I only play good games off the multiplayer scene now. Just got me. Oh damn, a Nintendo 64 for Xmas. Gonna play Zelda Ocarina of Time. Yeah, dude, that is a baller ass move, man. Fun story. I hold the Nintendo 64 controller backwards. Like I hold it the opposite of how you're supposed to hold it. It's just been ingrained in me ever since I used it. Like I never had anyone teach me how to play, so I just like played it myself and just literally started playing with the controller backwards. But that was like my jam, dude. I loved the N64. I love the N64 and I love the motherfucking GameCube, man. That shit smacked. And then when the Nintendo DS came out and you could play multiplayer Zelda with your friends by linking with the cable. I don't know if you guys remember that. I used to ball out on Zelda with my friends. Oh, so much fun, man. Thanks, Natasha. I appreciate it. You can also pay me $174,000 a day for coaching. I'll teach you how to get your own chains. Just joking.
It wasn't until the 2024 election cycle that Polymarket's growth.
Of course I played Mario Party 1. It's essential. Peak moment of my childhood. Absolute peak moment.
Growth picked up again. This time though,
imagine any kind of games used to be so vanilla, it's crazy. Now they're just way different.
was going to get a
N64 stream, that would actually be really cool. I would have to get like an HDMI to, I'd have to get a converter, and then I'd have to have a PC set up to, that'd be really hard. I'd have to look up how to do that, but I would actually do that.
whole lot more popular than anyone expected. As reported by Fortune, the trading volume on Polymarket stayed at around $40 to $60 million for the first 5 months of 2024. Then in June, it almost doubled to $110 million. The site was picking up speed,
oh my God.
And a month later, this tripled again, climbing past $500 million by September. Finally, with the—
Can you imagine you just start a fucking app and then you have 530 mil in the bank? What? You're right, Ash. I guess I could GoPro it. That's a good point. I could just record the screen. I guess it wouldn't really make too much of a difference because of the quality anyways. I had so we have a Discord group, obviously, where we have a gaming channel on the Discord group, and I needed some help on Path of Exile 2, so I hit some dude. I just messaged, can anyone help me? Dude hit me up. 5 minutes later, he's helped me on Path of Exile 2 and hooks it up with like the essentials that I needed to get past a certain point. I was like, dude, this is the coolest position to ever be in the world. Like, to just have people who are willing to help you out like crazy. Absolutely nuts. I was like, dude, I could like do anything. You want me to build you a program or something, bro? Like, thank you so much. It would be cool if I could play live. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know how to even set that shit up, but I would totally do it. I just don't know what that requires. I'll have to look into it. Maybe we can do it next week. If I can piece together how to do it. It would be a PC game though, just because unless I could find like I could find like an emulator on the PC for like old school games, but maybe that would be cool. I'll kind of try to see what I can do and piece it together.
The election around the corner,
worst case scenario, I can GoPro it, but I just don't feel like I'm a perfectionist in a certain sense, so I feel like I'd want to make sure it looks good.
Rose by another 500% to $2.5 billion. Since
that's OBS is what I'm using right now.
Then trading volumes have dropped, but not nearly to the levels they were at before the election. The business model and the site itself seem to at least have some staying power, and recent news might be an indication that some people are very worried about its growth. While the media and opinion polls had Trump and Kamala in a dead heat, the consensus on Polymarket was much more in Trump's favor. In the market for who would win on the 1st of November, a few days before the election, Trump was sitting
at right. Didn't it predict who would win before anyone else could? I think that's
63% with Harris on just under 37%. When Trump won, Polymarket also declared victory.
I know you guys got a lot of flack for that, and I just appreciate you guys standing up for it. And hopefully you guys feel the same sense of victory that we do.
Now, you could give a lot of reasons as to why. A Trump administration could be more likely to let them operate without much regulation.
I don't know. I just bought them off Amazon. These chains are from Amazon. They're like $5. I have no idea.
And it might let them have US-based users again. And during the election, people were slandering Polymarket as being outrageously right-wing, all due to their predictions that Trump would actually win the election, unlike mainstream polling that suggested the race was close. Their user base is biased.
Thanks, Sean. Appreciate you.
To being pro-Trump was also proven correct as well, adding weight to their claims of representing the true voice of the people. But just a few days later though, the FBI suddenly raided Polymarket's offices in New York, confiscating Kolton's phone and laptop. While other similar exchanges have been allowed to operate and let users place bets on US politics, Polymarket had not gotten the go-ahead. Meanwhile, it's almost certain that lots of US citizens have been using the platform, bypassing the region lock with VPN. Whether it's Polymarket's responsibility to investigate and stop this though is a legal question. So while they were obviously breaking their deal, they also have tons of plausible deniability that could possibly see them through a lawsuit if nothing else comes up. But of course, Polymarket were quick to claim that it was all a case of political punishment by the outgoing Democrats. The main objection that Polymarket's detractors have raised is based on the fact that it's unregulated. They say it opens the doors to insider trading, market manipulation, and other predatory practices. Just a few days before the election, Fortune.com published a piece accusing Polymarket of being a full of wash trading, a scam where users buy and sell lots of the same shares over and over again to make it look like a hot commodity. The crypto firms that came up with this analysis state up to a third of the activity surrounding the presidential market, the largest on the site, was wash trading. Other smaller markets on the site are even more vulnerable to manipulation. Their low trading volumes make it far easier for people to artificially move the markets with relatively small amounts of money. It seems like these kinds of things are almost expected in unregulated online financial markets. But perhaps the biggest reason behind the US's new crackdown on poly markets could be that it's something they don't control or make a profit from. With no third party.
That's for sure what it is. Like, it's no doubt, dude. The IRS wants their money. If they can get it, they want it. They'll audit you if you make $20,000 a year and missed $100 on your taxes. Like, they will get their money. Yeah, Congress inside trades all the time, but for the rest of the world, it's not allowed. Yeah, because they want the money. You know, like it's crazy to me. I really, one thing that disgusts me, like purely to the absolute core, is, oh my God, like the corruption of our society at large, right? It's not people. Like, I love you guys. I love most people. I just hate society because the fact of the matter is, no matter left, right, whatever the fuck, it's just shit. It's garbage. Everything is garbage and it's rigged to hurt you in the long run. And that kind of sucks to realize, man. It's like bullshit. We can't beat Congress. You and I can't beat Congress, you know? Coach, do you trade in crypto? Absolutely not. That's the worst idea. Just put all your money into an S&P fund, bro. If you put 10K into an S&P fund in 20, you'll be a millionaire. Like by the time you're 50, bro. Like, it's just a stupid bet to go cryptocurrency. Yeah, you might get a higher amplitude of gain, but you could also get a much more degree of loss, right? I know for a matter of fact, if I'm able to put 50K into the S&P fund, I'll be rich. I just have to wait. Like, it's not a question of whether it works or not. I just have to wait. Crypto's a gamble. I don't like gambling.
Taking a cut or managing the odds, Polymarket gives people a crystal clear view of what the consensus is on certain events. It offers a perspective of the world that they can't control and is therefore dangerous. Governments also rarely have a problem with gambling if they're the ones profiting from it. The lottery, which is often a massive slice of a country's entire gambling industry, is insanely profitable for them. It's like printing money.
My NFTs are going to the moon, just you wait. I'll be waiting, man. I'm cheering you on, bro. If you get rich, I'm happy. If anyone here gets rich, I'm a happy camper, man. I'll hope for you. Yeah. Can't even drive on the road anymore without cameras taking pictures of you. Yep. Matter of fact.
But without the inflation because they're taking it out of people's pockets. If Polymarket's model of peer-to-peer gambling takes off for other things, it could severely dent both of these profits and the ones they tax from regular casinos and bookmakers. It's not something they want to happen. While it might be unlikely, with so much money on the line, why would they risk anything? At the end of the day, Polymarkets isn't the problem, and gambling itself in moderation isn't a terrible thing. The issue is that Polymarket is just a symptom of a culture that's let gambling go way too far, and the media's only concerned because it's a tiny part of the industry that the establishment isn't taking a cut from. All the other rigged forms of gambling where you're pretty much guaranteed to lose money are absolutely fine in their eyes, and regulation has been almost willingly useless. In 2021, the UK government took measures like adding a minimum time between spins of 2.5 seconds. It's a hard rule that's definitely going to slow down the problem and prevent even more people from falling into addiction. That is, unless people figure out that they can just open up 2 separate websites. Plus, it really doesn't take that much time to sink an entire paycheck into online slots, even with those minor restrictions. Meanwhile, you've got streamers on Kick streaming slots to tens of thousands of people, and you can pretty safely assume that a large part of the audience are children. The big streamers often aren't using their own money. Gambling sites give them massive wallets to burn live on stream, just to draw in potential users.
That's what Toji's doing. Like, it's either they're rigging his bets or they're giving him a wallet that's predetermined to win. For sure. This is what I was talking about at the beginning of this video. I'm going to talk about this because it's so, like, no one's talked about it. I think it's super important to understand. Toji's getting he's getting gambling money from the gamblers. Like, that's it. Of course he's gonna win every time. It's crazy.
Users. They have big floats and most of the slot games work by buying a certain amount of spins and then winning money back. So each time these guys play, there's all these flashy graphics of massive wins showing up on screen. And while this isn't really lying, it's definitely meant to be as misleading as possible, as it creates the connection between winning massive amounts of money and the slot website they're using. Even as you see the laws of probability work themselves out and the balances slowly go down, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, like that's the thing no one realizes. You might win once, you're lucky, but the true statistics of it is you will always lose money. You will never gain it. You could gain money once and get very lucky, but you'll never get lucky twice. And you'll just keep draining the money, draining the money, draining the money, draining the money. It's going to happen. It can't not happen.
You can tell how integral these social media sites are for gambling companies' marketing plan. Otherwise, they wouldn't be funding an entire streaming platform just for this. But one of the worst things about all of this is that addicts can never really escape an easy way to indulge their addiction. Unless you entirely stop using a smartphone, it's always going to be there right in your pocket.
I'm in Arizona. I messaged you. No, I'm not in Arizona. I moved to Florida. I bought a house in Florida after I left an investment property in Arizona.
Or even on Times Square. It's like a smoker trying to quit smoking while keeping a pack of cigarettes in their pocket. And that's not to say there shouldn't ever be gambling adverts, not at all, but it's the way it's been adopted by everyone, by everything, where every single event in society is made to just be another part of gambling, which could be especially dangerous for those constantly losing when their entire addiction is centered around the dopamine rush that comes with a winning bet. And when you run out of money to keep it going, it's like being dropped in the icy water of reality. It all comes rushing on and you realize just how much money you lost and what the real life consequences are going to be. Which is one of the things that makes the mainstream promotion of this so uniquely gripping, is that everybody's trying to avoid this feeling, especially in a society where people are becoming poorer and poorer, uneven to even safely survive, constantly being shown this option of winning, where you can gamble on everything, which movies hit in the box office, which president gets elected, hoodwinking millions and millions of people trying to avoid the reality of losing, trying to avoid the reality of their own situation in life. And while in moderation it can be fun and fine, the problem comes when every single thing is monetized in this way. When you're a kid, it's loot boxes, and as you grow up, this sort of thing just becomes normal. But it is important to remember though that there is always still hope for recovery. We're built to deal with adversity and keep going through tough conditions and not resist temptation. But with how
You know, when I was living in Thailand, the one thing that I realized, well, I didn't realize, the one thing that was factual is that of all the shit that's legal to do in Thailand, which is basically anything you want, the one thing that is illegal is gambling, which is so eye-opening. like, like they don't, and basically, again, you got cash in Thailand, you can do whatever the fuck you want. Gambling, they will SWAT your house. They will break in and arrest you immediately and put you in prison. There's no casinos there. There's nothing, which is just, it's so wild. That like a country would completely outlaw gambling and yet realize that nothing else is as significant.
how much this stuff is pushed into people's faces, it's almost a sign of a society that's completely financially unstable, where materialism and money is promoted against everything else. Lots of addicts look back on their first bet and know that if they had lost instead of won, that whole habit would have never been formed and they would have escaped. Ironically, the dangers of gambling are always created by being lucky in the beginning. People who've revealed it to their families and their friends are often surprised at how willing they are to help, but the absolute worst move is to keep it to yourself and bear the burden of being alone. It isn't a problem that people should be ashamed about, especially when it's
if you bet on fights, it's illegal, so you'll get arrested, but you can do it under the table. It's just it's a really risk, like genuinely. In Thailand, they don't fuck around, man. They will, like, every night they'll bust into nightclubs, and anybody who is there, they will have urine tests for any opioids. Opioids are illegal there, so they'll have urine tests for opioids. If you pop hot, you're going to prison. There's no jail. There's no like, oh, I'm going to be held over. And no, you're going to prison. Same thing with gambling.
Promoted in almost everything, even just subtly without you ever realizing. But as we've seen, it's so ingrained into our culture today that children are already getting addicted before they have a bank account. And Polymarket and its competitors are therefore just the tip of a giant iceberg in a culture addicted to gambling. Regulating it is probably a good idea, but it's a comparatively tiny problem compared to the awful state of modern gambling itself and the root cause of why people are turning to this so much more than they have in the past. When money, materialism, and economic insecurity is a mounting problem in society, then it's no surprise that this stuff is so
it's crazy America looks like that.
Legitimized in almost every facet of society.
Only place worse than Thailand prison is Singapore prison. Yeah, I can't even imagine. I've heard stories from Thai people when I was living there, and it just sounds unreal, like truly unrealistic. Like a stone room, basically, with a bar, like what you'd see in a movie, like stone floor, stone walls, a bucket, and a bar, like a set of bars to lock you in. That's like legit what it is.
Society. But tackling that problem rocks the boat for everyone. It would dent the tax revenue and the lobbyist money that comes streaming out of the gambling industry.
Prison in Madagascar, I bet that's fucking nuts, dude. I bet that's nuts. I would never only have the weird colorless root. Hey, I'm not saying it, but I think some people would be better faring you know, like the Wes Watson types would be better faring if that's the kind of prison they went to. What does that an acronym stand for?